scale degree of A minor. We'll just pick an easy key. So it would look something like this. Where's my little work here? Okay, so show me the chord on the 5th scale degree in A minor. Well, remember, the wise person says, oh, okay, the leading tone of A minor is a half step lower. So I'm going to make myself a little reminder here. Leading tone is G sharp, not G natural, because that would be a whole step lower. So the leading tone of A minor is G sharp, and I'm going to need to include that in 5 chords and 7 chords. Okay, Dr. Brown's asking for a 5 chord in A minor. If I do nothing, I get this. Well, was the minor triad the one they used on the 5th scale degree? No. That's the one they used. So if I ask you to spell a triad, it would be E, and then G sharp, and then B. Okay? So you say, well, wait a minute, G sharp's not in the key of A minor. How did you come up with that? Well, it kind of is, because remember, they made 5 chords major. All right, so this would be, if we were drawing a Roman numeral to represent this chord, this would be the common type. This was the one that was circled at the bottom of that one page in chapter 4 where he taught you about the common types, right? So the major 5 chord was the common type on the 5th scale degree, and the only way to spell it right was to include a raised leading tone, which is G sharp. And I think you would all know by now, in order to play the harmonic minor scale in A minor, we do go into sharps, even though A minor's relative major has no sharps or flats. It's C major. But we do need a G sharp on the 7th scale degree to make a harmonic minor scale. So the 5 chord is spelled E, G sharp, B. Let's do a 7th chord on the 5th scale degree of another minor key, just to sort of make things fun. So, what would the 7th, what would the 7th chord look like? Let me see if I can get my words right here. What would the 7th chord look like on the 5th scale degree of G minor? Okay, what would a 7th chord look like on the 5th scale degree of G minor? I will start down here with G minor. Make yourself a little reminder and say, okay, wait a minute. G minor's leading tone would be F sharp, even though G minor has 2 flats. Leading tone is a half step lower. So in G minor, we play F sharp on the 7th scale degree in order to get that harmonic minor. 4, 5, 6, 7 is G sharp, or F sharp, then G. So I must include a leading tone in all 5 chords and 7 chords in order for them to be the common type. So Dr. Brown is asking for the 5-7 chord now in G minor. How would I spell that? All right. Go up to the 5th scale degree. If I do nothing, I get this chord. I get a minor 7th chord. Well, that wasn't the type they commonly used. They used major minor 7th because that brought you back to G minor again. You can't get there without that F sharp. So instead of D, F, A, C, I have to include that leading tone and make it an F sharp. So I stack up those notes on the 5th scale degree, D, F sharp, A, and C. And remember, these problems don't use a key signature and stuff like that. And I'm just reminding you as a class, put the signature all the way over here on the left so you remember what key you're working with. Apply those flats where they can be applied. And of course, we don't have a B flat or an E flat in this chord. And then the last thing you do is erase the signature. Okay? So this problem was kind of complex because it was on the 5th scale degree and it was in minor. All right? Problems on the 5th scale degree and the 7th scale degree are tricky in minor because they must include a raised leading tone. All right, let's do a couple of 7th chords in minor as practice. Let's go to, we'll stay in this key because it's my favorite minor key. Let's stay in A minor. And I'd like you to build the 7th chord on the 7th scale degree. That little thing with the hood on it means 7th scale degree. Well, once again, in A minor, I'm making myself a little reminder to include a G sharp. All right, because that is the leading tone in this minor key. So here we go. The G sharp has to be in this chord or it will be misspelled. So I come over here to the 7th scale degree and I realize that's G, and I stack it up like this. G, B, D, F, and I get this quality. I get a major minor 7th chord. I'm like, no, that wasn't the type they used on the 7th scale degree. But wait, in A minor, G sharp is the leading tone, and 7th chords have to include a leading tone. There, that completely changes the sound of the chord. So I raise the G to G sharp, and I get my fully diminished 7th chord quality by including that leading tone. So A minor's leading tone is G sharp, and that affects 5 chords and 7 chords. Here they're asking for a chord on the 7th scale degree. So I made sure to include that leading tone in my spelling of that 7th chord, getting me the fully diminished quality. My biggest mistake that I see in class from my students is forgetting the leading tone. So you'll spell a G, B, D, F, which is major minor 7th, which was never the type they used on the 7th scale degree. It always included a leading tone to bring you back to tonic. Remember, leading tone's role is to lead the ear of the listener back to the tonic chord. And that's these chords, the 5 chord and the 7th chord, are called dominant quality chords. They propel you back to tonic. So those are some of the sticky issues in chapter 4. I really like the self-test problems in self-test 4.2, and where across the bottom you have to list Roman numerals that represent the chords, the 7th chords that you see being spelled there. And across the top you have to list the lead sheet or slash chord that represents the chord that's being spelled there. I just kind of cut right to the chase and did one myself. This problem right here, you can see I've got the Roman numeral, and it's bass position symbol, and in this case, this is a 1 major 6/5 chord. So we spell it E, G sharp, B, D sharp. That's the 1 major 6/5. The number 6/5, of course, because this is in first inversion. It would be 1 major 7 if it were in root position, but 1 major 6/5. Oh, by the way, I sometimes see students do this on their quiz or their homework or whatever. They'll go 1 major 7 and then they'll put 6/5 like this. All right? Well, that you're lying when you say this. You're saying this is a 1 major 7 chord in root position. Oh wait, I lied. It's in first inversion. So what you should say is take that 7 out of there, because 7 means root position, and you're not looking at a stack in root position. 6/5 means 7th chord in first inversion. So this is 1 major 6/5, not 1 major 7/6/5. Does that make sense? 6/5 says 7th chord. That's all you need to say. And it says this 7th chord is in first inversion. And M says this stack of 4 has a major 7th on the outside. So another mistake I'll find in these is just 1/6/5. And people will omit the capital M. Well, what you're saying now is 1 major minor 7th. And this stack is not major minor 7th. E, G sharp, B, D sharp. That's a major seventh chord. You have a major triad and a major seventh on the outside. So 1, major, 6, 5. Now, lead sheet symbols are a little different. Okay? So up top here, we say E major 7. This is an E major 7 quality of chord, whose root is G sharp. So what I see by mistake in lead sheets sometimes is you'll say E major 6, 5. Well, we don't use inversion numbers in lead sheets. We show the inversion with a slash and we tell what note that chord is built on. So it's an E major 7 quality chord whose root happens to be G sharp. So it's very important that you keep this business separate from this business down here. Down here we're saying major 6, 5. Up here we're saying E major 7 / G sharp. So lead sheet terminology is different than Roman numeral bass position terminology, and you need to reckon with that and make sure you know the difference between the two. So you could go back to chapter 3 and review the lead sheets for the 5 types of seventh chords, and this will confirm that I am correct, that a major seventh chord would be spelled capital letter, big M7. And if it happens to be inverted, slash the bass note. And of course here it's G sharp. So make sure you can tell the difference between what we're doing down here in Roman numeral and bass position land and lead sheet land up here on the top. All right. So it's Monday. This is the review for Monday. And as we prepare for our quiz on Wednesday, I will not give an assigned homework assignment tonight, but I will strongly urge you to complete a couple of the self-test questions on page 58 and 59. Do a few of each type, A, B, and C. Okay? So we're dealing with triads there. And then go over to self-test 4-2 and try a couple of each kind of problem in set A. Those are the ones I was just demonstrating for you with the seventh chords, with the lead sheets on the top and the bass positions on the bottom. Do a few from that set. Do a few from set B. And I did demo one of those problems for you earlier. Set B was the one where they give you the scale degree and the mode, and you have to come up with the Roman numeral and bass position symbol and spell it on the staff. And then you might try a few of set C here, where you are given the full chord and you have to put the Roman numeral and bass position down here that represents this chord. All right, so I mentioned that that would be a good way to prepare for this quiz, and I also mentioned our charts at the end have to be memorized. You need to memorize the chart for the triads and memorize the chart for the seventh chords. So, as I sip a delicious beverage, I am currently somewhere in the state of Minnesota with my choir and praying that you do well on this quiz on Wednesday. It is equally as hard as the Chapter 3 quiz was, if not harder. So my advice to you would be get a tutor between now and Wednesday and study extremely hard. This quiz is really one of those men from the boys type quizzes. So, God bless you. You do not come to class Monday, as you know. You just watched this video. You do come to class on Wednesday for the quiz that Katie Potter will give you. And then you do not come to class the following Friday. I will have another video on there, which is a sort of a combo Chapter 3, Chapter 4, a mega review for our test over Chapters 3 and 4, which we will have on the Monday that I return from my choir tour. All right. God bless you. Do well on the quiz.